For joining us here at noon, I'm Tatum Miller. Our coverage continues from the courtroom in the Spencer Moen trial. The West Fargo man accused of beating his wife to death in August of last year. Today is day 3 of the trial. Yesterday, we saw the 6-year-old Moen twins taking the stand testifying against their father. Today, prosecutors are calling on an examiner from the Cass County Coroner's Office to speak about the blunt force trauma that Sonia Moen had. One aspect the prosecution focusing on was what examiners witnessed when first on the scene and what had to have happened to experience this kind of trauma. Moen's defense is pushing back, saying certain injuries to her head could have happened by a fall in the bathtub. But experts from the Cass County coroners argue there were injuries all around her head, not just one specific part.
That could have been caused by a fall in the bathtub, couldn't it?
She would have had to fall in a rotating manner for several minutes to get circumferential trauma.
Prosecutors are also calling on other people who knew Spencer, including family friends who may have been the last people who saw both Spencer and Sonia when she was still alive. You can stick with Valley News Live throughout the night as we continue to follow this trial.